Hey all, here are OS reviews. So another holiday season is around the corner, and in many places it's getting quite cold now. Today we're taking a look at a unique product from Xiaomi once again, and they're making a interesting wireless charging cup, or I like to think of it as a mug. It's a coffee slash tea mug, and it heats up using this inductive charging pad. The most interesting thing about this though is the charging pad is also Qi compatible. So when you're not heating it with the cup, you can remove the cup, put your smartphone on top of it, whether that's an iPhone, whether that's a Samsung Galaxy or a Xiaomi, and it will charge up your smartphone. So it comes in two colors. It sells for under 40 bucks. So again, it's quite affordable considering that you're getting basically a Qi fast charger in addition to this interesting ceramic mug that works with it as part of the set for that price. So you can heat up beverages, you can heat up coffee for various different meals that you may have. And again, this is an image of it charging up a phone. The charging pad itself measures 6 millimeters in thickness, so quite slim. So here are some of the specs printed on the back. It is printed in Chinese. We have on top just a quick pamphlet that shows us how to put the ceramic mug on top, as well as the wireless charger heating pad. So right on top we have just that pad component. It reminds me of almost like a cobblestone. And on the back we do have some rubber feet that prevents it from sliding around on the surface. It is going to be much larger than your typical Qi charging pad just because it has to accommodate the size of a cup, so you have a really large, generous surface area. The texture here really is made out of a soft touch rubber, but it reminds me of something like a sandstone texture from OnePlus. Access the mug as well as a wall plug, so it's nice that they give you one of these in the box as well instead of relying on your own. It really is quite a large size as well. Maybe because since it is also a heater, it's going to draw more power than a typical smartphone charger, so they give you one in the box. It folds down and can be extended here for use. Simple USB based plug. Here we have the mug itself, which is actually in two divisions, which is interesting. The mug here we have is black in color. It is shorter than a typical full-size coffee mug, however. So here is a sample mug that we may have, and you can tell kind of the difference there in terms of the size. And we have a second compartment, which is actually just the lid. So it's a very interesting design. Just close it up like this if you don't want the heat to dissipate and you want to keep your beverage warm for a longer period of time. So this will ensure that by, again, closing off this area. But what's interesting here is you can also reverse it by using it as a coaster for maybe use if your table is sensitive because it's made out of wood or maybe made out of like granite material, you don't want to damage that. You can also use the lid as a coaster since the bottom here will be very hot since it's going to be directly touching the heater. Alright, so first a quick charging test. There is a small LED light that will turn white when you have a Qi compatible phone placed on top of it. So here's the Samsung Galaxy phone. If we just pop this onto the top of the charger, it will begin automatically, as you can see there. In terms of charging rates, it's relatively quick. I got a full charge in under 2 hours on this device, which has a roughly 3000 milliamp hour capacity battery. So it's not quite Qualcomm Quick Charge enabled in terms of speed. In general, wireless charging is always going to be a tad slower than regular charging through USB Type-C or Lightning, so that's something to keep in mind. But it still is relatively quick, and it will give you some convenience, of course, because you don't have to try and fumble around with a cable, especially at night. You can simply pop this down and it will start charging. So once the battery is full, the charging will stop, and it's going to, again, prevent your phone from getting overcharged. During operation, it still remains relatively cool, so it's not getting too warm either, which is important because obviously having a Qi charger that also acts as a heater could be a little bit potentially dangerous if it again activates the heating mode by mistake, and all of a sudden you'll have a very warm slash exploding phone. There's probably a separate component built into this particular mug, now that I think about it, maybe some type of contact or a specific chip which allows it to sense that you're putting the mug down, and now it's going to use the heating mode. So the LED light here is a little subtle, but you can tell that it's on right now and it's heating up this mug as we put it down, and if we lift it up, the LED light will go away as well. What's interesting is the cup itself, of course, gets quite warm, about 55 degrees, but the base here, if you touch it, is definitely not quite as warm as what you'd expect. So compared to a more conventional heater, it seems to actually be cooler, and part of the reason is because the cup is actually the special design. The base here, they claim to have a heat-absorbing material that allows it to be heated up more quickly because of this cup. Now, one of the other more interesting aspects of this product is it claims to use biodegradable polymers for for the construction of the base. So one of the more interesting things is it's made out of a wheat straw bio-based polymer material. So what that means is if it gets warm or starts to decompose, it starts to emit a light wheat fragrance during the charging process. I personally haven't encountered that, so as I'm smelling the air here, everything still smells very much the same, or maybe just the coffee or the tea is scenting the air ever so slightly, but it's interesting that they're making this out of a unique material. Some final things to keep in mind, it's more meant as a warmer that will keep your beverage warm for a longer period of time compared to actually melting the coffee or tea when you're actually cooking it. So that does require a little bit of a higher temperature, usually about boiling temperature, so about 100 degrees Celsius compared to here, which is 55 degrees. So just warm and comfortable, but at the same time, it's not going to actually maybe melt away the packet or the solution. If we just kind of lift this up here, I've poured some milk tea in here, and you can see that I can even tell that some of the hot air is still rising up. I can see a little bit of steam, so it does seem to be a pretty perfect temperature, not too hot, but also not too cold for me to really enjoy this beverage. I will end by saying that this is not the first time Xiaomi has made a cup or a type of drinking accessory. They did also make their smart cup, which we reviewed just a few months back, and this one is more of a tumbler that can store definitely more beverage, but it doesn't have any heating component. What it does have is a touchscreen that can tell you the temperature of the water inside, as well as this interesting rock, paper, scissors game. So this is more meant for on-the-go use, and it has some smart features built on in, also very classy and elegant looking, versus this, which is more meant for the office. Learn more details in the description below, but for now, that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. That's been the Xiaomi Youpin VH Smart Coffee Cup / wireless Qi charger.